And welcome back to Who Would Win. So today's Who Would Win comes to us from Black Shadow 309. What's the question? Who would win in a fight? The creatures from the Descent versus Dog Soldiers. The werewolves from Dog Soldiers to be precise. Now, doing the actual verse is going to be a little tricky because you're talking about a large group versus a relatively small group in comparison. Versus the Descent creatures, the crawlers versus I think there was like six I looked up initial werewolves in dog soldiers. So this is going to be a little difficult. But comparing the two, creatures from the descent were more or less called cavemen who never left the cave. They evolved to basically live in pitch black darkness, lost their eyesight. They hunted by smell, by sound. They were capable of doing some coordination. They were very feral. They were very vicious. But overall, they were not, and they were no stronger than say a normal person who was maybe raging out, who was just very hostile and aggressive. But what they lacked in physicality per se, they made up for in aggression and in their numbers and the environment in which they fought in and lived in and hunted in. The dog soldiers were believed to be a group of werewolves anyway. Were believed to be a group of Celts, Celtic clan that had been around for basically a long time, and they were possibly murderers and possibly they were murderers, cannibalistic, possibly, and eating human flesh, even in human form. When the full moon rose, they became werewolves, and even as humans in the human forms, they can heal from quite a bit of damage, but they're not. You just need a lot of sufficient shoot them enough times, they'll die. Take off their head, stab them through the heart, they'll die. Once they're werewolves, they could only really be killed through dismemberment, incinerating, setting them on fire, or anything silver. Uh, Physically, they were stronger than your average person. They could lift a grown man with just their hand. They were quick, they were fast, but they lost a lot of their human identity, but they were still relatively intelligent, including capable of hunting in packs, setting up tactics. So they were standard world. Most werewolves are still much smarter than most. They're feral, but they still retain that animal cunning and intelligence and that wolf mentality to some degree. So if this were a 6-on-6 match, the werewolves would just completely wreck shop with the creatures from the descent. But to make this at least a bit more interesting, we're gonna set this obviously in the cave in the descent, and we're gonna say it's more like a 30-on-6 fight. Basically, what if 30 of these creatures started coming out of the works and attacking these werewolves in the cave? So the fight would probably start out, and the werewolves, having heightened senses, having been able to see in the dark, would not be completely blind by any stretch of the means in a pitch black cave. They wouldn't be able to see perfect because it is pitch black, but they would still be able to relatively get their bearings. They also have sense of smell and hearing, things along those lines, much like the creatures do. So a couple of the creatures would be circling them, figuring it out, and then they would just attack. Now, I'm guessing maybe half a dozen, but a 6-on-6 again. The werewolves can physically take these guys on, but when there's double those numbers, let's say it's about 12, and they just start coming in dogpiling, then pun intended, dogpiling all these werewolves, it becomes a little trickier. Now, I do think that the initial fight, initial group of them would be taken out. But eventually you start to get the numbers start to wane on the werewolves to some extent. Chunks start getting taken out of them. A couple of them do die because once some get the throats ripped out and they eventually do fall down and die. But the long term of this is that eventually the werewolves are going to come out on top. They are physically stronger, have far better regeneration capabilities, are far larger, and have senses on par with the creatures from Descent, at least as the general whole. Not necessarily in the in the eyesight department, though they can still see fairly well. But their overall senses as a whole are still very much on par. So yeah, I have to go the werewolves now. If there's because we have to stick with the six, because there's really only the six werewolves that was attacking the guys in the cabin. But that said, if there's a sufficient enough amount of the creatures from the Santa Crawlers, Then I'd actually maybe lean more towards the creatures from a Descent because there's just so many that you eventually, even the werewolves, would be getting overwhelmed by them. But on like a 30 on 6 fight, while a couple of the werewolves would drop and die, I do think it would probably be the werewolves that win the fight overall. What do you think? Do you think different? Let me know. Put in the comments below. Fun chat about it. Thanks for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, superhero magic, what if, anything I do on the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. Later today, there will be the next What If. What else? Nothing else for today, but then Jurassic World on Thursday, or tomorrow, basically, because I'm pre-recording this. And Jurassic World on Thursday. We'll have another what is throughout the week. Who would win on Friday again? And then box office. Everything I normally do, more or less. So thanks for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you.